Welcome to the Home Service Contractor Blueprint by A2O Digital. Every episode will cover topics that impact all home service companies like marketing, sales tactics, operations, and more. Now, on to today's episode.
Hi again, I'm Tim Coleman, and I'm your host today. I'm also the managing partner of A2O Digital, a full-service digital marketing agency working exclusively with home service businesses. My co-host today is Justin Benchko, and we have Katie Marchbank from our team joining us today. Justin and Katie, welcome. We're here today to talk about Reddit showing up much more in search results than it used to. So why are we talking about this? What's going on with Reddit that we want to talk about this?
So thanks, Tim. Yep. Thanks for having us. Excited to kind of talk about this. This is something that we have started to see come up more and more, actually, like in the home services vertical with our customers, where we're seeing Reddit search results show up in many places. A lot of times it's threads from a particular metro area. So let's just say you're located in the Columbus metro area, right? And you search garage doors or garage door repair. Within that first page of the search results, there may be a Reddit thread from the Columbus metro area where someone's asking, hey, did anybody use a plumber or a garage door company or whatever your service may be? I'm looking for a recommendation. And then you start to get that Reddit thread of people talking about who they use, who they've had a good experience with. So we've started to see that across many different markets where this is showing up. On top of that, there's also been other chatter about Reddit and search results and having a bigger presence in Google. In the SEO community in particular, it's been talked about, and people kind of track different sites and how much they're showing up on search results. So just in general on Google, Reddit is showing up more, and there's a lot more talk about that in recent times. And then there's actually been stuff in the news where Google is partnering with Reddit more. So like all of the signs are indicating that, you know, Reddit is having a stronger presence here, and it's probably something that's going to stay here. Google actually struck a deal with Reddit where they're paying Reddit I think the number was $60 million for access to Reddit's data and more access to data within Reddit. So Google sees and feels like there's value coming from Reddit and wants to highlight that more. And so it's something that I think is going to only become more important as time goes on, and something that's kind of here to stay, at least for the, you know.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit, Justin, about why we think that's happening. What I mean, $60 million isn't that much to Google, but it's still a lot of money. So why are they giving Reddit $60 million for a fire hose to their content? Why do you think they're doing that?
So, I mean, we can talk, and there's been articles where where Google has commented on this. They're literally saying they like the information and content from Reddit. Like, I can pull a couple quotes from some of the articles where Google's commented on this. They said, Reddit plays a unique role on the open internet as a large platform with an incredible breadth of authentic human conversations and experiences. And we're excited to partner to make it easier for people to benefit from that useful information. So that's them saying like, hey, Reddit's got really good information there that we want to highlight more. Another quote that I kind of pulled from an article that kind of highlights this. Over the years, we've seen people increasingly use Google to search for helpful content on Reddit, to find product recommendations, travel advice, and much, much more. We know people find this information useful, so we're developing ways to make it even easier to access across Google products. This partnership will facilitate more content-forward displays of Reddit information, will make our products more helpful for our users, and make it easier to participate in Reddit communities and conversations. So just two little snippets where they're saying like, this is great information. We need to figure out how to highlight it. Google sees people go to Google and specifically want to search on Reddit threads, right? So like all this Google's seeing and it's saying, ultimately Google's goal is we want to, whatever that person is searching, we want to provide them the best answer. And if people are liking the answers on Reddit, right, Google wants to provide more of that. So, I mean, that from like a high level, I think.
I think that's partially true. I think Google's PR machine never really tells you the reason they're doing anything. I don't have a tremendous amount of trust in what Google's PR machine is telling me. Reddit has been providing great information to its users for 20 years, and Google never cared before. Now all of a sudden, Reddit's a great. My opinion is this is in direct response to the threat created by ChatGPT and other AI. The limitation that AI will have is the ability to provide direct experience. Google does not want to have anything in its search results that was written by ChatGPT. I think all SEOs would agree with that. I think Google's at the point right now where they don't want anything that could be written by ChatGPT. You see Danny Sullivan, that's Google Search Liaison, talking about over and over again how Google is looking for great content. They have ways of measuring great content. They are not just basing their rankings on authority anymore. There's popularity, and they have the ability to measure great content. And they want to be able to provide their users with unique experiences. If you want a restaurant, do you want an article summarizing, steak, or do you want to hear about somebody's experience at a steak restaurant? Google has clearly made the decision that it wants user experience. And there was a study recently that content that used words like I and we and our was getting a boost in rankings. And I'm not surprised by that. ChatGPT cannot write anything in the first person. ChatGPT has no experience. You will never see ChatGPT like, I went to a restaurant. ChatGPT's never been to a restaurant. It'll never need a plumber. And Google, that's the way Google has decided to compete. And I think that's a lot of what this Reddit thing is. Reddit's been around a long time, and all of a sudden, like, Google's finding their content very, very, very valuable. And Google's never going to come out and just admit, like, I don't know.
What would be their reason for not? Like, I think we're kind of saying the same thing, right? Like, Google wants to actual useful information for the end user. If someone's going to Google and doesn't find their results useful, right, and they're going to stop using Google, and that's ultimately they want to make sure that they're satisfying the searcher. With AI, right, that's a new thing that's come out, and people can create an article in 2 seconds of, the best blah, 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 and it goes and scours the internet, but that's not actual real good data. So Google's looking at this and saying, these are real people on Reddit threads talking about real experiences, right? That's what Google really wants.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what I would want as a searcher, right? Like, Tim, we were down in San Antonio on a work trip, and, we've been talking about, hey, we're seeing Reddit show up, and we're at this place right next to the Riverwalk, which is really nice if you're ever in San Antonio, really cool place. Right. And we were trying to figure out where to go to dinner, right? And we went on Google and we searched best restaurants on the Riverwalk, and there were multiple search results, and we both did this separately, but both of us ended up on a Reddit thread where it was talking about restaurants on the Riverwalk, and there's people upvoting, different things, and you saw multiple people talking about their great experience at X restaurant, right? Those are real people that had real experiences. It wasn't just some random article written by AI. So I think we're all talking about
right. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And so, I mean, I think it is, if you get those genuine threads of genuine people that have experienced whatever it is that you're searching for, like, that is a good result. That's the one that I gravitated towards. That's the one that you gravitated towards, Tim, right? And we actually dined at a restaurant because of that.
It was useful content, right? Like there was
Yep.
a guy who lived in San Antonio who said, I've been here like 5 years and I go to the Riverwalk, a couple times a month. And these are the 3 restaurants you want to do if you want to accomplish this. It was like I just took a picture of the what the guy said. And then each night I chose a restaurant based upon what the guy had said. Like it was like, yeah, it was very useful.
Yeah. And like when you think about this in the trades too, like if I'm a consumer, it's the same thing as the restaurant situation, right? Like, I search garage door repair in Columbus or whatever your, whatever, HVAC services, plumbing, whatever your thing is. And a thread comes up of people that had real experiences with companies and are talking about it. And there's multiple people. And like, that's the type of stuff that I probably want to see as a consumer where it gives me confidence to potentially call someone. So like,
it's fair. It's going to be influential, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be influential, especially if folks in that thread are very credible and local. It's going to have an influence.
So we'll talk about that a little bit later, right? When right now we look at those threads and we say, okay, that's credible. If this keeps getting more heat and light and more people, Reddit's showing up more, it's having more influence on people. Does that have the potential to be manipulated and all those types of things? So we can talk about that in a little bit, which is an interesting conversation to see the evolution of where this goes. Anything else on that, on why Google's doing it, or should we start talking about what can we do about it? Right, this is happening. We feel like this is going to stay. Let's talk a little bit about, okay, so what do you do about it at this point?
All right. So what do you do? Where do we start? If you're a business owner, where do you start, Justin?
I mean, the number one thing, obviously, is make sure you leave every single customer happy, right? Mm-hmm. Customer satisfaction, like this goes along with everything. Make your customers happy. Hopefully, if you do that consistently, naturally on these threads, right, you're giving a good experience for customers. Naturally, people will happen to be Redditors and will happen to comment on there, and you'll naturally show up. That's the kind of hope. I wouldn't only leave it up to that, but like from a base standpoint, do that. Make everyone happy, and this will organically, naturally happen.
Sure. We've seen blocking and tackling. Yep. Blocking and tackling. Yep.
We've seen that in some of these where, our customer is the one that shows up and is recommended, and that's awesome.
Right.
That said, I don't think you should leave it just to that. It's like reviews in general on Google and wherever else. Like if you leave customers happy, eventually they will leave good reviews. You'll have a good reputation, but you shouldn't leave it just to that. You should have a proactive strategy to try and, facilitate it even more and get people to share their experiences and proactively ask for it. So like from my mind, this isn't that much different from Google reviews, right? You have to ask your customers to do it and share their experience. So, I mean, there's different ways you could go about that, right? With reviews, a lot of times leaving it, getting the technician or whoever's in the home, who's going to have the most influence. And that's where you're going to have the best chance. So can you train your technicians to, just like asking for a review on Google, hey, bring up Reddit, right? Like, do you use Reddit? Like that's a place where, we're all about referrals and, sharing. If you had we want you to share your genuine, or have you ever been on Reddit? Not everyone's going to be on Reddit. So some people will say, no, okay, move on and have them give a review somewhere else, but ask. And if you get that person that is active on there, ask them like, hey, can you share your genuine experience and figure out a way? Obviously you're going to have to figure out how to direct them to the forum or wherever you want them to share their experience. But I mean, ultimately, I think you got to have a proactive strategy to ask customers to do this, right? And we're not asking them to lie or anything. We want your genuine feedback and share your experience. So
yeah, and you want to be, your technician should be trained to be transparent with customers, that reputation is important to you. You can do that right at the beginning. At the end of this call, at the end of the service today, I'm going to ask you to judge my performance. So I want to do a great job for you. And ask them, like, what sites do you use? Do you use Yelp? Do you use Reddit? Like, I think a technician can ask that question, right? And then that can trigger the relationship to head in the direction that you kind of need it to from both a consumer and business perspective, right? I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, you're asking them, where do you frequent? Where do you go? Can you share your experience there? Like you just said, there's Yelp, right? It's the same thing. If someone's, a Yelper, could you leave a Yelp review? But you gotta ask them, and not everyone's gonna be on Reddit. There's, local Facebook groups. That's another place where, similar type of threads. I know in my town, there's one, and people ask, hey, can I get a recommendation on a good plumber, on a good electrician, whatever the service may be, and people go and give recommendations. If someone's active there, ask them to share their feedback there, right? Like there, you got to kind of ask, and just like you said, the other thing that we're going to be looking at too is, can we help in some way with like text messaging? We're working on some stuff with text messaging customers. So can you have something where, it sends out a text as well after the job and like, hey, we genuinely appreciate your feedback. Here's places where you can share your experience, and we got to figure out the wording of it, but list those, right? You can list directly the Reddit forum. So it's easy for them to click and go to that forum and leave it, list your Yelp profile or the Facebook group where you would want someone. So working through that, where if you can attack it on multiple fronts, right? The technician asking for it, a text message goes out to the customer asking for that feedback afterwards. As many ways that you can kind of do that and facilitate it is you're going to have, you can kind of try and stack the deck a little bit to, not just rely on it to organically happen. So.
Right.
You gotta be careful. You don't want, it's sharing genuine experiences. You're not asking someone you're not doing anything. There's no foul play there. You're just proactively asking them.
So this is going to be more important right now, or a little more urgent, let's say, if in your main keywords, your main geography, there's a Reddit thread showing up now, right? So if you're a business owner, the first thing you're going to want to do is do that search, go through the organic results and see if there's a Reddit thread there. And then if there is, that's going to provide the URL or close to it of what you want to then provide to your customers of where they can leave feedback, right?
Yep, exactly. And in some places there isn't one. It's not showing up. Maybe there is, but Google hasn't chosen for it to show up. So like, yeah, this isn't going to be, this isn't a thing that necessarily is going to affect every single person at this moment, but I think it's going to continue to expand and have more presence. So,
yeah, cool.
Anything, the other part to this, like asking your customer, should you be like proactive in these threads? Should you as a business be commenting in those threads? That was, my other thought. Is there anything that like, not just relying on your, on your customer to do it, like, should you proactively be going in there and saying something, which I think is tricky. I don't know the answer to that.
I think it's a great conversation to have. So if I was a Reddit user, and I'm not a big Reddit user, but my initial reaction to that would be like, that's not the place I want to see you. However, if you were there responding to what somebody else said, I would find that appropriate and helpful.
Yeah. And Katie, maybe you can comment on that a little bit. We brought kind of, you're on here, you're active on Reddit. Like, what would you think from that perspective if like the business went on and said something? I kind of agree with you, Tim. Like if there was a question and you're providing some helpful feedback to answer it, that's great. But you don't want to like get in there and like, choose us, like we're the best.
Yeah, right.
Do you agree with that, Katie?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on today, guys. So this sort of gets into a bigger question, of how Reddit really works if you're unfamiliar with it. But to answer your question more directly, I don't think that most of the time Reddit users are looking for people to directly self-promote. And that's the case in most subreddits. You're not allowed to self-promote. It's a lot of using Reddit is being familiar with individual subreddits rules. There are some subreddits where they say, okay, yeah, you can self-promote, but you have to be otherwise an active member of the subreddit. You can't just be there to self-promote, or your posts are just going to get deleted. And one of the things that Reddit has in place is its karma system. And that's basically your reputation on Reddit, like your own individual account reputation. And you get karma from people upvoting your posts and your comments. And, if you're posting absolute nonsense and every 2 seconds you're like, look at me, look at my business, people are just going to downvote you. Your comments are going to get to the bottom. Nobody's ever
you can get negative karma, Katie.
Oh yeah, you can get negative.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
People are going to downvote you. Your posts are going to get hidden once they hit a certain threshold. And
gotcha.
Some subreddits even require your account to have a certain amount of karma in the first place to even post or comment. Subreddits are moderated by the community that they're in. And, sometimes your posts and comments have to be approved. It depends individually. And people will look at your account and see what you've been doing. If your first post on a subreddit is, oh, my business does this, we're amazing, they're gonna say, no, get out of here. But if it's a community that allows self-promotion and you have posts, say across Reddit, talking about your favorite video games, or, advice, giving somebody whose dying plant needs advice. And then you also happen to be in a, home improvement subreddit, and somebody is saying, like, I have tried a million times to change my garage door spring and I can't figure it out. Does anybody know a local company that does this? Because I've given up. Then maybe you can say, like, hey, yeah, I work for Precision or whatever company.
You want to make sure anything you're commenting is providing actual value and not just self-promoting, essentially. Yeah,
exactly. And your whole account can't just be self-promotion, or it's going to be, people are going to know immediately. And
it's kind of it's frowned upon in the community too, right? Like, and
that's
your brand.
And that leads into like a conversation of you brought up earlier, Justin, can this be spammed? Is this going to get abused? Because Google has a lot of spam in its reviews and everything. And I think people are starting to know that too on the broader scale, not just, the SEO types know that there's a lot of spam, but I think a lot of, people that aren't involved in the community are starting to know there's a lot of spam in Google reviews. So, people type in showerhead reviews Reddit. Like they skip past the Google reviews, the Amazon reviews these days, because they know there's so much spam.
So, okay, I guess I have a question around this. And if I just know spam is going to happen, right? The more Reddit is highlighted, the more potential opportunity there is to get something from it, right? To get leads. And as that continues to grow, there's going to be people looking to manipulate it. So what's to prevent someone, let's just say, creating 100 fake Reddit profiles and going into these threads and saying, oh, my ABC company is the best. My ABC company is the best. And like, how is that? Do you think that has a potential to happen? Or with this like system of karma and all that, like, do you think that's going to be hard to do? Like, what is your thought on that? Because these people spam is sophisticated, what some of these people do.
Yeah, I think people are definitely going to try that when people first start getting the idea that Reddit is going to be in the SERP more often. I don't think that it's going to work for the most part. There may be a special case, where it does, but like I mentioned, a lot of subreddits require your account to have some level of karma already. If you make a brand new account and you try to make a self-promotion post, it might not even show up at all. It'll just get automatically deleted. And even if the subreddit doesn't have a karma requirement, if that's the first thing you post, these communities are self-moderated by people who care about it for the most part. They're going to see it. They're going to look at your account and they're going to be like, this is garbage. And It's going to get downvoted. People when on Reddit, when they see somebody being malicious or otherwise spammy, they're just going to downvote you, and it's just going to disappear. It's not going to be there. And there's also a sense, I think, of longevity on Reddit. It's, a lot of the posts that I have seen show up on the SERP are slightly older posts. They're not posts made yesterday. There's a very popular meme on the internet about like people, with a niche question, and the superhero that comes to save them is a Reddit user from 10 years ago with the same exact question. And it's because that, there's a sense of Reddit being, it's just important that this sticks around. It's not just trending. It's not, and a lot of communities, it depends on their activity level. If you are posting to a niche town subreddit that gets one post every 2 weeks, like Google's not going to rank that. We know Google likes sites that have content that updates. But if, you're posting to the entire New Jersey subreddit that's very popular, and your first thing is just self-promotion, it's going to get drowned out by other people that are posting things that are actually relevant anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting because, like, you just think of the example. Okay, we saw, let's just say, garage door. Someone says, I want a garage door company in Columbus, Ohio. And there's, a bunch of comments on that.
Mm-hmm.
If I just go and create 5 or 10 accounts and all I do is go and comment on that, is that not going to show, or will it still show up? Like if I comment, I used ABC garage door company, and then I have my next account and go, oh yeah, I use them too. And then I have another account that goes and upvotes that. Like how I'm trying to figure, I guess I don't totally understand. I have to learn more about how Reddit works, but like, how are they going to catch that?
Josh, you've been fighting spam too long. You sound like you know how to do it.
I know what these people do, and I know what happens. So like, that's what I'm saying. I guess it remains to be seen. I hope that it doesn't become something that turns into that. Maybe I've been seeing it, and over the past 10, 15 years of what happens, and so I don't know. It'll be interesting. Hopefully, all that stuff that you said, Katie, does help make it be a hard thing to manipulate, but we will see.
Yeah, it'll definitely be an interesting journey, I think. But like I said, even if you do spam, like it by the time that Google, crawls it and decides that it might be useful information, you probably would have been downvoted by the community anyway, because again, they're going to look at this account, see it has no posts, see it doesn't interact with the community or any subreddit in any meaningful way. You're going to get downvoted. You're going to get banned. Your posts are going to get deleted.
I hope so.
So I think what I just learned is that if I want to have some influence in Reddit, I'm going to need to invest some time in that platform and provide some value to that platform.
Absolutely.
That's what it sounds like. So I think that's a great takeaway. What do we think about the future of Google SERPs with Reddit? Do you think this will go away? Do you think this will increase? Do you think it'll kind of stay the same? Where are we at? What do you think, Katie?
I don't know. I guess it could go either way. I mean, if we do end up with some spam, it could end up the same way as like Google, where people start not trusting Reddit anymore, and then they stop searching, showerhead review Reddit. They just stop. They start looking somewhere else. I think it'll be a lot of behavior driven. A lot of people still they trust Reddit. They, like you mentioned, it's real people's experiences. And if people stop trusting Reddit, they're just going to stop searching X reviews, X recommendations Reddit. And then Google's going to see that trend, that search volume is down. They're going to stop ranking it. But if it does work, if people are searching it more and more, it's going to go up. And then you're going to want to be a part of your local community subreddits. You're going to want to be a part of subreddits of other things that you care about, just to have an account with high karma that people trust. And then, if your subreddit allows self-promotion and you do a post that people are like, okay, that's fine, maybe it gets on the Google SERP.
What do you think, Jessica? Is this going to accelerate, stay the same, go away? What's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we don't have a crystal ball, so there's no way to tell you for sure. But if I'm looking at all the signs, I'm saying it's only going to have bigger impact into the future. That's, Google striking a partnership, us seeing it more, SEOs seeing it more, Google saying that we see people like this, information, like that's all indicators that this is only going to be a bigger influence moving forward. But again, like there's no way to, guarantee that. But that's why we're talking about this today, right? If we thought that this showed up a couple times, but it's going to die down, we probably wouldn't even spend the time thinking about it, talking about it. So yeah, I mean, in terms of like takeaway, like you said it, Tim, look in your area. Is there something currently right now showing up in the search results in Google, right? If it is, start to figure out how you can stack the deck in your favor and get people to share their experiences there, right? If it's not showing up in your area, maybe you don't have to worry about this for a little bit. Maybe you go on Reddit and see if there is something that Google hasn't necessarily picked up and shown yet. And maybe you start working towards it proactively. But especially if it's showing up right now, that's, figure out your game plan.
That's right. All right. So this was a lot of really useful information for me and I think for our listeners. So thank you guys very much. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like and subscribe to our podcast. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Home Service Contractor Blueprint. Don't forget to leave a review and subscribe so you can stay up to date on home service trends.